Romance anime is something that Alex and I don't really get to explore on this channel because, well, it's kind of boring talking about the subtleties of romance when it's unrelatable to you guys. Shit, I'm in the same boat as you guys. So My Happy Marriage, eh? Why would we talk about this anime when we could be talking about better shows like Mushoku Tensei or Jujutsu Kaisen? Well, who's saying we're not making videos on them later, But to keep it real with you guys, this anime wasn't really on our radar at the beginning of the season. We weren't even planning on watching it, let alone make a video, but there's something about it that just makes it different compared to the other mid-tier romance anime. Now I'll be honest, we haven't watched much romance dramas in a while, and I think the last ones were Domestic Girlfriend and Scum's Wish. So going into My Happy Marriage, we were expecting some spicier scenes. So when does the main girl get cuffed? When does the half-sister start seducing other men? Where's the incestuous cousin in all this? Oh, there he is. Mio is your typical girl from a family that doesn't love her. She has a father that thinks she's useless, a stepmother that uses her like a rag, and a half-sister that's breaking her in like a new pair of shoes, just stepping on her over and over and over again. Basically your average Asian household. Mio's biological mother married into the father's family as a political marriage to create a child with supernatural powers and soon gave birth to Mio. They live in the 19th century Meiji Restoration era, so everything that's happening here makes sense, powers and all. She died a few months later, and Mio's father finds out that Mio didn't inherit any powers from her mother, so now she's pretty much useless to him and ends up making her one of the servants. It's like the anime version of Cinderella. At her lowest point in life, Mio finds herself getting cucked by her own half-sister who marries her crush. And to add insult to injury, her father also planned to send Mio away by arranging a marriage for her and Kyoko Kudo, a man known to go through women like beers at a frat party. She goes to meet him for the first time in her life, and surprise surprise, he's hot as fuck. What did you expect? It's a shoujo anime. At first, both Mio and Kyoka are shocked by each other. Mio is shocked because she's never met a man more beautiful than he is, and Kyoka is shocked because he's never met a woman more submissive than she is.
At a quick glance, this show seems like a very generic shoujo anime that's like every other shoujo anime you've seen, and I wouldn't blame you. I'll list out a couple of things and you let me know if any of these sound familiar. There's a weak female lead that's always on the ground, struggling to look anywhere other than what she's standing on. There's the completely despicable dickhead characters that make her life absolute hell. And then there's a Prince Charming that comes into her life and magically flips her world around. Sound familiar yet? These are all cookie cutter story elements that most shoujo anime have, but where it really diverges in My Happy Marriage is the dynamic of the couple. Kyoka is an absolute giga chat that cannot be tested by anyone other than God himself, and even then he would still risk his way out of a bad situation. While on the other hand, Mio is a complete train wreck of a person that is consumed by her past and has zero or less confidence in herself. Essentially, they're the complete opposite of each other. So how can two people with completely different backgrounds possibly make a relationship work? By treating each other with respect, duh. God, it's like you guys never talk to other human beings. At first, they're a more stereotypical old-timey couple where the man has the final say in everything and his word is law. If he tells her,
No, oh my god, young man, kill yourself!
She's probably not appearing next season. But then he eventually sees that this way of treating a woman that's gonna be his future wife is kind of wrong. So he decides he should consider her feelings more and do nice things like eat the food she cooks or take her shopping for some nice new outfits. And it's all these little things that they do for each other that gives you a breath of fresh air from all the depression at the beginning. In episode 1, I couldn't really connect with Mio's incredibly feeble character. She just seems to get pushed around constantly by her family without giving me the feeling she would ever fight back. And if you know me, I like strong female characters. That's why I stan Fiona from Shrek. In my head, I had already labeled Mio as a victim of poor writing, someone that I wouldn't pay too much attention to. But then by episode 4, I realized I was completely wrong about her. In fact, it made me realize shows like this need a fragile character like Mio so that people like me can see the progress they've been making this whole time, which is necessary because this kind of character development is more on the subtle side. It deals with emotional and psychological progress as opposed to physical. You know, I'm used to seeing muscles develop around here, not around here. For example, the first and second episodes show Mio and Kyoka being brought together for the first time, and everything is of course awkward. I mean, it's an arranged marriage between basically two strangers. It can't get any more awkward than that. But then they slowly, and I mean slowly, open up to each other by learning about what they've gone through in the past and the baggage they carry along with them. I kinda like this element of bringing baggage into a relationship because it's not every season we see shoujo anime or anime in general dive deep into something so relatable, if our viewers could talk to women.
It truly captures the essence of what it's like to deal with someone with a Bible's worth of trauma. The anime doesn't just dip its toes in, rather it dives all the way into the nitty gritty and lets it sit there for a while to really have an impact. And it doesn't just take one episode for the trauma to disappear. No, the trauma never actually goes away. It takes the entire season for it to be worked out, but it never really feels like it actually goes away. It instead feels like it gets minimized, like that incognito window when your parents walk in. It's a constant struggle for Mio and Kyoka to break their bad habits, to fight through the trauma, to trust one another in order to create a healthy relationship. But they do it in the most humane way possible, by acknowledging and treating each other like they're human beings. Now I know some people complain about how slow the pacing felt, and admittedly, it did at times. But the slow pacing served a greater purpose in helping us grasp the situation in its entirety. Imagine how cheated you would feel if after 2 days of being with the Rizzler, Mio just forgets the last 19 years of trauma she's dealt with. Yeah, no, it would be terrible. But if there's one thing to take away from this anime, it would be the Riz techniques performed by Kyoka.
Gentlemen, take out your notebooks and something to write with, because there's going to be a couple of very important techniques that shouldn't be forgotten if you're going to Riz up women. And God knows you need all the help you can get.
What the dog doing?
Now, I know this because our YouTube metrics tells us that we have a very high percentage of men that have no Riz. So we're going to point out some that Kyoka uses to bag Mio. The first one is a simple compliment to her work. She cooks something up, he eats it, and says it's good. It might not seem like a huge deal, but to someone like Mio, this is probably the first time she's ever received praise for her cooking, so she tears up a bit from his few words. The next thing Kyoka does is give Mio something meaningful to her. In this case, it was a new comb to replace the broken one she's been using for years. It's a small gift, but for someone like Mio, it means the world to her that someone is giving back instead of her giving to other people all the time. One thing that I thought was a brilliant move by Kyoka was when he gave Mio a protective charm for when she goes out. It really showed that he cared for her and was slightly overprotective, which is a pretty attractive trait in moderation. It's these little things you have to pay attention to make someone feel special, but you gotta start with having them talk to you first, and unfortunately, this anime can't help you with that.
My Happy Marriage is an underlooked anime that navigated a very heavy topic in the most realistic way possible. The characters' past may have shaped their personalities, but it doesn't keep them from being better in the future. Their flaws, bad habits, and insecurities don't simply disappear after one episode. It takes the entire anime for them to work out their habits and to be direct about what they really want. But once they do, my god is the payoff worth it. Too bad there was no incest, so it's a 0 out of 10, no spice to the sauce, worst romance anime of all time. They shouldn't have let bro cook.